Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Oh, that's really good. First up, for T&D today, we have the cable knit sweater mug that I have. It's very late right now, and I'm very tired, and it felt like a cozy thing, because after this, I'm going to go to bed. So the cozy is what I was sort of reaching for here, because inside of it we have, I forgot to grab the tea and bring it in here to show you guys, but it's one that I've had before. It's the Unplugged from Econ Tea. That's that tea for men that I found on the internet, and it's very good. But hopefully it will actually help me go to bed immediately following this recording here. But in the meantime, before we get to that point, ow, I just burned my finger because I'm a ding-dong. But before we get to the part where I go to sleep, we are going to talk about something today. It is Thursday, which means that it is my favorite day of the week to get to do, because on Thursdays, what do? We do third-party Thursdays. And today's is one that I'm actually very, very excited about. Today's is focusing all around The Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns. Now, this book is one that I'm very excited to get to talk about, because it is one that I backed on Kickstarter, and then I kind of forgot about it for a while. I was going to say it took a while, but it didn't really take like an inordinate amount of time. I forgot about it for a while. And then it showed up one day, and I was super excited about it, because I was like, ooh, that's right, book. But like the art on this cover, if you're watching the video, obviously, is absolutely gorgeous. If you aren't watching the video and are listening to this on podcast instead, go ahead and look this up, because it is a really, really gorgeous cover to a book. It is a book by Eldermancy in collaboration with Ghostfire and 5th edition fantasy. It is a hefty book too. And I am really, really excited to get to talk to you guys about it, because it is pretty dang cool. It is about 300 pages long, which is awesome. And it's got a lot of good stuff in here. So let's go ahead and let's crack it on open, shall we? Inside of this book, it is more or less exactly what the cover advertises for you. Inside, to read the back here. Welcome to a wondrous collection of 17 enormous locations, all collected and transcribed by the Seeker themselves. Each tavern is fit to explore with its own quest board, history, staff, menu, numerous guests, and more. There you go. That's what you need to know about what's going to be inside this book. It is broken down into 18 distinct chapters, plus an introduction and a couple of like appendices kind of things. Appendices. However you want to look at that. 17 of those 18 chapters are obviously different taverns, as I just mentioned in the on the back of the book there. And again, each one of those comes with, at a minimum, an introduction to the place itself, the different areas of the tavern, the different tavern operators, the different tavern guests, a menu specific to that tavern, the questing board for that area of the tavern. I'm listing out the things that are in most of them. A couple of them don't have one or two of these things. A couple of them have extra things, blah, blah, blah. The history of the tavern and stat blocks for everything that is in that tavern that you might need. Other random things that are in there are events that could be happening at the tavern, or in the tavern, or around the tavern, or etc. And I believe that is the only other thing that really pops up a lot in there. So not all of them have a quest board necessarily, and not all of them have events necessarily, but they do have those things. So the 18th chapter then is the extras, quote-unquote, chapter, which is made up of the world travelers. These are individuals that can be sort of scattered around through the different taverns, through different places in the world that you are dropping these straight into. And there are interesting things like the Critic, the Gambler, the Old Lady, the Seeker, Emmett William Saps, the Tinkerer, and the 3 Hexbound Sisters. Then in the appendices, we have the they have written a card game, like a mini game essentially, for you with full set of rules, which is really, really awesome. And there's a map index, and then the open game license, obviously. So, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and flip to one of these taverns, and we are going to take a look at it. We are going to go to one that I know that a very specific individual who watches all of my videos, every single one of them, and rates my mugs every day, is going to enjoy a lot. She's a member of my home game party. So we are going to go to the Teapot Temple. A lot of the people in my home game are really, really into teapots and tea accoutrement. And it also just kind of feels like it fits for, you know, this show where I quite literally have based it around tea in a lot of ways. So, we're going to go through the Teapot Temple. It's also important to note that every single one of these temples has been written with the mindset of you being able to pick it up and just drop it somewhere in your game so that it can just exist in the world, and there isn't necessarily a whole crazy amount of DM prep that needs to go into it. Obviously, you need to put the work into, like, actually rope it into your game, but for the most part, they are, like, ready to go, baked straight out of the bag, and you can just sort of, like, scoop it up and toss it into your world, which is really pretty cool. Realistically, players don't go into 17 different taverns throughout the world over the course of the adventure, because they will find one or two that they really, really like and spend a lot of time in those places. And honestly, to have a bunch of really random eccentric taverns like scattered around your world is going to be a lot to keep track of if they keep bouncing around between them. So, you know, use them a little bit more sparingly maybe than just dumping all 17 somewhere. But also, why not? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? They go explore all of them, and you have all of the details in front of you and ready to go. Oh no. So anyway, let's take a look at the Teapot Temple. First off, if you are watching this, go ahead and take a look at this. If you are listening, I apologize for your inability to see this. The art in this book is very, very, very pretty. Oftentimes you will get a full page layout of like sort of a landscape looking at the temple, as well as like a logo more or less for the I said temple tavern, as well as a logo for it. It's called the Teapot Temple. That's why I called it that. And so each of the individual sections is sort of themed after the vibe, I guess, of the different place. So the Teapot Temple is there's the introductory description to it, saying the Teapot Temple lies at the edge of a natural garden that was once an ancient shrine commemorating people and events long forgotten by most. And then there is a little bit more about it there, but I'm not gonna read all of this. It's like 17 pages long. Every single one of these is between 15 and 20 pages long, which is really, really awesome. That's a lot of information for a single establishment in a world. So there's definitely plenty of space for people to actually exist in here. It does, in the introduction, mention that player characters of any level can be in this tavern, but it is designed for levels 1 to 5 and optimized for level 3 characters. And it gives you the idea that it works best near a busy urban setting, providing a calming getaway from the busy city life. So, the areas of the tavern, there is this little map guy down in the corner of this page here with the 3 marked areas for the inside of the tavern, including the bar, the banquet hall, and the kitchen. In addition to that, they then move on to the maintenance building, quote unquote, which is on the next page, with this other little breakdown of it. They're just 4 square rooms. Those have Takaken's office, laundry, and excuse you, where are the other couple of them in here? The garden shed and the distillery. In the center of that, for some reason, I'm realizing now, I looked through this one to make sure that this was what I wanted to do, and I'm a little confused because I didn't realize that they had just inserted 3 pages worth of information between there and the next thing. They have a couple of different pieces of information here. Most specifically, they have the tavern operators spread out over these 3 pages here. This gives you a lot of different information including the names of all the notable NPCs that they could be running into there, particularly the ones that work there, as well as little story beats for them, little pieces of information that they might know, and in some cases, little like stat block kind of thing, like quote unquote stat blocks. More like one of them has an enchanted shovel that has a +6 to hit, reach of 10 feet, and does 1d10 plus 4 slashing damage. So in the NPCs here, you have Takukane Tak Golden Scale, the Dragonborn proprietor of the establishment. He has 3 different story beats, as well as a personality description for him. There's Saba Irongut. He is a dwarven commoner who works during the day at the tavern. He has one little story beat about him and a personality description. There is Warai. He is a Tanuki, which is part of Stibble's Codex of Companions, which is a different book that I do not have, but I thought I backed it. I thought it was supposed to be on the way in the mail. It is on the way in the mail. It is just not here yet. I'll go over that one whenever we get it too, because I'm excited about that one too. There is, again, personality stuff, story beats. There are a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different NPCs that you can run into that are well laid out in this section. From there, we go back to our different orientations. We have the tea house and we have the guest cottages as 2 separate things. The tea house is its kind of its own thing. It's just a structure that holds the tea house. This whole tavern called the temple is steeped sort of in these spirits and the lore surrounding these spirits. So there's a lot going on with them, specifically in all of this lore that is going on here. Then the guest cottages are broken down into the basic cottage, the comfortable cottage, and the luxury cottage. Those 3 are kind of self-explanatory for what they do. There's also a staff cottage they talk about, and a washroom cottage type area. Still going on with the different places. We are out of the buildings now, and we are into more of like the geographic features around it. We have the water gardens that are listed out as the contemplation pool, the old shrine, and Namidaryu's resting place. Again, all of these come steeped and baked with different types of lore. I just realized the fact that I keep using the word steeped for a tea-based tavern as I am sitting here drinking tea, and I think it's kind of funny on the inside. Another sort of like interlude here. We have the tavern spirits and the tavern guests that you could run into here. The spirits obviously are the things that are baked into the lore here, and the guests are different people that you could be running into inside of them. Every single one of the taverns has this adorable, fully illustrated menu complete with prices, foods, and descriptions, which is amazing. And some of these are really, really awesome. I love this concept, at least, and I wish that there were more things that could give you something like this, because this is the kind of like itty-bitty world building that you can do that really makes the world feel like it matters and is alive. And you don't even think about it when you're doing some prep work or some world building. So on the menu, you've got things like golden dragon squares, takoyaki balls, Takukane's special, udon noodles and shrimp, a couple of cocktails, Honored Orange Spirit, Kitsune's Kiss, and the Tipping Crane. All these things are really, really phenomenal, like little bits and touches that you can put into your world that are just going to make the world feel more alive. Then we move on from all of the different places that are in and around this, as well as the menu and the NPCs, to events that are happening here. This is where it becomes a sort of like balanced for levels 1 through 5, mostly 3 situation, essentially. There are a couple of different types of events here, as well as one sort of like core adventure almost. There are angry spirit events and there are calming events. Again, this is very much focused on spirits and the things surrounding them. So you have the ability to interact with angry spirits, as well as attempt to calm those angry spirits. Ultimately, you will need to sort of like interact with them and work on calming them in order to resolve the mini quest that's in here called Putting Nemidaru to Rest. And in addition to those like mini quests, you do get one big stat block for a quote-unquote Spirit of Anger. It is a challenge rating 5 creature, which is really, really great for a party of, 3 to 4 level 3s or something like that. I don't know. Not the optimal D&D size party based on the balance of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons or anything like that. No, that'd be insane. And then there's also, a nice little section on tavern history. So that is an example of one of the taverns in the Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns. I highly recommend you check out this book, even if you just use it as like a reference for world building stuff and like lore based stuff for different locations in your world, because there's a lot of really, really cool stuff inside of this thing, and you can use so much of it for a lot of good exposition and world building inside of a homebrew game, or honestly even a module game, if you are trying to fill some kind of area with something in there. The types of taverns range from what we just talked about all the way out to, let's see, there is called the Wildback Tavern, the Bloated Bounty, the Dancing Horse, Poor Larry's, Ironstein Mine, the Fungal Grotto, the Drunken Treasure, etc., etc. There's so much good stuff in this book. Highly recommend you check it out. Again, Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns by Eldermancy in collaboration with Ghostfire Games. Check it out. That is everything I have to talk to you guys about on that one. Moving on to the shows we have coming out today. It is Thursday, which of course means that we have Critical Role, we have Authors and Dragons, we have NADPOD, and we have LGBT D&D. Definitely go check those out. Let them know that I sent you, because again, someday somebody's going to say something to me about it, and I'm going to think that it is absolutely hysterical. And that's really the only reason for it. But I think that might be the end of everything that I have for you guys today, which means thank you guys so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so very much to my patrons in particular. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. Please, if you're interested in becoming a patron, go on over to my Patreon. There's a link to the There is a link to that in the description of this episode. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything, which means that we do the wrap up now. So everybody, don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.